How's it going, everybody? JP back at you once again with another edition of A Closer Look At. This is a video series where we take a Blu-ray release and we review it from top to bottom, cover everything that release has to offer as in-depth as possible, everything from cover art all the way down to special features. It's been a little while since we've done one of these, but I'm very excited to be back doing these videos again, and I plan on kicking this series into high gear. The edition that we're going to be talking about today was released January 22nd, 2013, and we're going to have a closer look at Scream Factory's release of Deadly Blessing. Presentation is all about what the release contains, the packaging, and overall just how it's presented to us. So right away we have Scream Factory's Deadly Blessing here. It is a collector's edition, and it is a regular collector's edition. There isn't nothing that sets it apart from the other collector's editions that we talked about in the past. We have the slipcover, which I'm a huge fan of. I love these things. And then we have the standard keep case style. On the inside, it is a single disc edition. There's no DVD combo here, but it does have the reversible cover art that we see on the majority of Scream Factory's collector's edition releases. The presentation is a 3.5 out of 5. Now we're going to move on to artwork, both new and old. Let's start with the newly designed artwork created specifically for the collector's edition release. Gotta say, I do like it. I think it's doing a lot of things right. For one, it does have that vintage style that we're used to seeing on these collector's editions, but I think it specifically works well with this release because of the nature of the film, which we're dealing with Amish, the Hittites. They're very old school, they're very worn out and dirty, and it blends well with that vintage look. You also have Michael Berryman's mug. You got to put him on there. The three beauties are represented very well in their nightgowns. You have the barn and the farmland at the bottom, the blue sky, which you see a lot of in the film. You have the spider, you have the snake, you have the glove with the knife. I think everything is represented in this one, even though it is that floating head style that we're so used to seeing and it gets a little bit tired sometimes. This is some good artwork. I do like it. Now we're going to move on to the original theatrical art. I also like this artwork. I think that it's very hypnotic, very dreamlike, very nightmare-like, but I do think that it doesn't really represent the film very well because although there are parts of the film that has to do with that stuff, it's not really the main point of the film, and it's a bit misleading. I would maybe say that this looks like a vampire film based on the girl on the front, or maybe even a werewolf film based on the hands. They're kind of hairy, they're dark, it looks like it's pulling her into the darkness. Kind of misleading, but it's still good art, so I'm gonna go say that I like this one as well. On the inside we have a disc art that is just a close-up of the original theatrical art. I do like when they switch up the art on the disc, but you know, you can't always have that. Overall, I give artwork a 4 out of 5. Deadly Blessing from the year 1981 with a tagline of "Pray You're Not Blessed." This film was directed by a master of horror, the one, the only, Wesley Craven, and it follows a young woman who is now widowed after her husband was mysteriously murdered on their farm. Now, the husband had an interesting backstory because he was once a member and a son of a cult, and he was the son of a cult leader who actually is still living nearby on a connecting piece of farmland. So as the now widowed woman is grieving, she invites her two sisters to her house who fly in from out of town, kind of high maintenance girls. She calls them in to help her with her grieving process, and people start getting killed off. It's kind of a whodunit, but it's very, very weird. Michael Berryman is in this film and gives a solid performance as always. Of course, you might know him from The Hills Have Eyes that Wes Craven also directed, among other films. The cult leader gave a good performance. I thought it was a really good performance, actually. It comes off very scary, very strict, very serious, and very creepy. I do find these cult, religious, overly religious, extremist group films very creepy. They really get under my skin. Something about these extreme religion cults just really kind of freak me out. So I do like that about this film. Now I do feel like since we're always on the farm so long and we never really go out, I do like the setting, but we never really escape from that. I think that it also slows the film down. I think that's the main problem with this film, is it feels very, very slow. This is definitely a film that you think could have used another couple rewrites on the script, because they had solid ideas, but I feel like they didn't know what to really do with them. They never really structured the film properly. There's actually a scene in this film that is almost directly reused in A Nightmare on Elm Street, the scene where Nancy's in the tub. Same sort of camera angles and everything else. It's actually very interesting to see that. And Wesley Craven does that a lot. He borrows from his ideas and reuses them in films. I swear he's made Freddy Krueger like 8 times in his different films, different incarnations of Freddy Krueger. But anyway, I will say that I didn't like this film the first time that I seen it, but upon rewatch, I'm finding more and more things that I'm kind of picking out of it that I'm like, yeah, I kind of like that. It definitely isn't a super strong film, and it definitely has a lot of issues, and a lot of it comes from the badly designed script. And if I'm being honest, the ending is just kind of weird and hard to accept. It has a weird ending. It is a very weird film, and I really felt like there was a lot of potential here. I do like the setting. I do like the cult ideas. I do like that creepy religious material. He tried to do some stuff with dream sequences and nightmares and stuff that I really didn't feel worked too well. It needed to be hammered out a bit more in the script. Overall, I'm gonna say that I still like this film, surprisingly, and I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10. As always, Scream Factory does a good job with their transfers. However, this film is very basic looking. It's very drawn out, washed out colors, just very brown and tan and very farmlandish. So there's not really that much of popping going on, so it doesn't really do the transfer any favors. The textures are all kind of flat looking. It's just not a good film to see in high definition, I guess. It's not a film that's really gonna pop. So the transfer is good, it just doesn't have much to work with. It's a 3.5 out of 5. Moving on to special features, first up we have a feature-length commentary by director Wes Craven, who is joined by Horror Hound magazine writer and creator of Horror's Hallowed Grounds, Sean Clark. I love Horror's Hallowed Grounds, the special feature that we see from time to time on Scream Factory releases, so I was really excited to see Sean Clark kind of moderating this interview / commentary. Wes Craven is definitely an icon, and he is fun to listen to. However, I have heard people say that his commentaries can be a little dry in the past. I've never really got that vibe with Wes Craven. I've always really enjoyed his commentaries. This one moves along great because we have Sean Clark constantly feeding Wes Craven interview-style questions about the production and the post-production, pre-production, all of that type of stuff, the ending, and it really, really is cool to see the spotlight on a film where you never really expected the spotlight to be on in the first place. Very decent commentary, nothing mind-blowing, but it was very insightful and very interesting to hear about one of Wes Craven's less popular films and what he thought about the film. Second, we have Say Your Prayers, an interview with Michael Berryman. This runs about 14 minutes, and this is good stuff here. I really, really enjoyed Michael Berryman talking about how he got involved in the film, how he got involved with Wes Craven on The Hills Have Eyes, talked a little bit about his career, and he seemed like a very, very smart individual who definitely is a very interesting person and definitely interesting to listen to. That was definitely a good interview. Third, we have Secrets Revealed, a all-new interview with Susan Buckner. This was about 13 minutes long. It was kind of interesting. We kind of learn a bit about her life and her stories in the industry. I didn't really know much about her or who she was to begin with, so definitely kind of filled me in on somebody that I was unaware of, didn't know much about. Not as good as the Michael Berryman interview because I'm more invested in him, but still okay. After that, we have Rise of the Incubus, an all-new interview with creature designer John Nolan. This one runs nearly 7 minutes. I thought this one was really, really interesting, and I wish they kind of would have had a better film to talk about, because this guy was definitely interesting to hear his story and about the creature and stuff. Very solid interview there. Our last interview is So It Was Written, and this is a look at the film's screenplay with the writers of the film. This one runs about 20 minutes and is very insightful into the history of the screenplay, and you know, it really kind of shows why this film was kind of a mess to begin with. A very solid interview there. Finally, we have the theatrical trailer, the TV spots, the radio spots, and the photo gallery. Not the special list of features at the end of the disc, but for what they are, I do enjoy the TV spots and the radio spots. The theatrical trailer is also fun to watch, see how they marketed the film at the time that the film was made. And I will say, the Deadly Blessing theatrical trailer team did an alright job, because they did a better job on the trailer than, you know, considering what they was working with, a film that was very mediocre. Overall, special features, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. Definitely some solid interviews here. The commentary is good. Overall, just a solid list of special features on this disc. Scream Factory's Deadly Blessing is kind of a mixed bag. I feel like most people going into this film will be disappointed coming out of this film. The film is just not that strong. However, I am going to recommend it because I feel like the legacy, if any, the history behind the film is almost more interesting than the story. Although I've personally been able to pull things out of the film that I enjoy with repeat viewings, I don't think the majority of people will enjoy this one, but I think it has enough here on the disc, commentaries and stuff, to kind of keep people interested. It's a lesser known Wes Craven film. It's never been released on DVD or Blu-ray before, so as long as you can get it for a cheap price, I am going to recommend it. See you guys next time on another closer look at, where we'll be looking at the Killer Cockroach film put out by Scream Factory, The Nest. See you guys next time.